超過2萬張由7個被捕私家醫生所簽發嘅免針紙，下個月12號起失效。疫苗通行證適用年齡星期5起降至5歲或以上，市民即日起更新安心出行應用程式之後，可以儲存最多8個同行人士嘅針卡。日本為遇襲身亡嘅前首相安倍晉三舉行國葬。各位歡迎收睇呢節新聞。政府因應有7個醫生涉嫌濫發免針紙被捕，發現7人所發嘅免針紙一共超過2萬張，佔目前有效嘅免針紙超過一半。政府宣布由呢7個醫生簽發嘅免針紙將不獲接納，並由下個月12號起失效。李同欣報道。
再有醫生涉嫌向市民濫發俗稱免針紙嘅新冠疫苗接種醫學豁免證明書，被警方拘捕。涉事嘅診所位於荔枝角道，診所一名65歲嘅醫生涉嫌製造虛假文書被捕，正被扣留調查。警員喺診所檢獲一批病人嘅記錄、一部電腦同大約56,000蚊嘅現金。初步調查顯示，呢一名醫生喺2月至5月期間發出近3200張免針紙，每張要3000至5000蚊。至到去而家，一共有7名醫生涉嫌濫發醫學豁免證明書被捕。醫務衛生局話，根據醫健通嘅記錄，7個人一共發出2萬幾張，仍然喺有效期內嘅免針紙，佔整體有效豁免書超過一半。政府有合理嘅理由懷疑呢一啲醫生未有遵從衛生署嘅指引簽發免針紙，因此政府將不再接納呢一啲醫生過去發出嘅免針紙。市民如果持有相關嘅免針紙，可以按需要諮詢其他嘅醫生，並且向醫生申領一份新嘅豁免書。考慮到相關嘅市民需要時間諮詢其他嘅醫生，呢一啲嘅豁免書會喺下個月嘅12號起被視為無效。政府提醒市民，執法人員有權要求市民出示豁免證明書二維碼。如果經過查核之後，發現市民使用無效或者係虛假嘅免針紙，會轉交執法部門跟進。Now TV 記者李彤報道。疫苗通行證嘅適用年齡星期5起降到去5歲或以上，市民可以更新安心出行應用程式，儲存最多8個同行人士針卡。當局話咁樣係方便家長或者監護人帶埋小朋友或者長者進入指明場所。陳德新報道。
安心出行應用程式更新之後，會出現新功能嘅簡介。撳入去電子疫苗接種及檢測記錄一欄，會提醒用戶，如果儲存多過1個疫苗通行證，要確保所有記錄嘅個人資料，例如係名同埋身份證號碼要完全一致。碌到最底多咗加入同行人士。3類人符合同行人士資格，分別係65歲或以上同埋15歲或以下人士、殘疾人士同埋其他獲政府或者政府授權機構認可嘅人士。同行者間唔一定要有親屬關係，最多可以儲存8個人嘅疫苗通行證。用戶要幫每個同行人士改名，並且聲明已經閱讀同埋明白條款，然後再用手機掃描同行人士嘅針卡二維碼，之後亦都可以刪返走。同行人士到訪嘅處所唔會另外記錄喺呢部手機上面，亦都不限市民將同一個疫苗通行證儲存喺多過1部手機嘅安心出行入面。
因為我手機已經有哥哥姐姐啲資料啦，太多嘢搞啦，搞到頭先唔見咗書包，我而家都好似失魂咁，因為揾書包啊。
始終都會好多私人資料喺電話度，始終都會有啲避忌咯，驚有啲咩資料流失咗咁樣咯。
佢哋每人各自有自己電話咁啊，係啊，我哋出去都係咁奪嘅，都習慣嘅。適用，佢被試啫，未知之後佢啊家姐都係自己奪嘅。
政府話市民可以選擇展示紙本針卡，加入新功能只係考慮到部分小朋友或者老人家未有智能電話，所以一並儲存，方便佢哋進入指明處所。重新系統能夠辨識疫苗通行證嘅真偽同埋係咪藍碼等等，一旦發現有人盜用針卡，將會執法。Now TV 記者陳德新報道。
本港新增3667宗新冠病毒確診，多6個患者死亡。 本地最新確診數字再度回落去到3000宗以上水平，本地個案佔3474宗，輸入個案就有193宗，多6個患者死亡，年齡介乎57至92歲，其中2個人已經接種3劑疫苗，另外有1個人未有接種記錄，全部都並非院舍嘅病人。另外，新增6間安老院舍，一共18個院友確診，有54個院友列為密切接觸者，需要隔離檢疫。學校方面，多418間學校呈報699宗陽性個案，有24個班別有多過2個人染疫，要暫停面授課堂1個星期。
行政長官李家超話：入境檢疫放寬至到0+3，反應正面，相信經濟會逐步動起來，唔同領域可以受惠。政府會注視疫情走勢，慎防反彈。如果走勢符合預期，可以再進一步放寬。陳子晴報道。
入境檢疫放寬到0+3，行政長官李家超話運作大致暢順，反應正面。
有一啲返嚟香港嘅香港居民呢，就大家係擁抱，亦都有因為好耐冇見面呢，而再次見面呢，有一啲重逢嘅感覺。
李家超相信實施0+3之後，經濟會隨之而動起來。被問到0+3未必吸引到外來旅客，反而多年未能夠旅行嘅市民紛紛部署外遊，佢就相信經濟一環扣一環，唔同領域可以逐步受惠。
希望整個經濟同埋活動都動起來嘅。當然啦，喺動起來嘅過程裏邊呢，有一啲行業可能佢即時受惠啦，例如航空業可能即時受惠啦，可能啲交通即時受惠啦。其他我哋相信嘅活動呢，都會不斷去翻嚟，包括有啲展覽，包括一啲商務嘅客。咁佢翻嚟所帶嚟嘅經濟效益，以及之後呢，可以輻射到其他不同界別。
李家超形容今次放寬檢疫係大改動，會慎防疫情反彈。至於會唔會進一步解除3日嘅醫學監察，就要視乎疫情走勢。
如果嗰個疫情嘅走勢係符合我哋嘅預期啦，我哋喺管控方面呢，覺得反彈嗰方面呢，我哋係控制到啦。咁當然我哋會逐步按住實際情況呢，係希望呢係俾更多空間去其他嘅活動嘅。咁但係呢，剛才我講得好清楚，必定要審慎睇住個數據，然後呢，如果係做得嘅，我哋就會做，穩紮穩打。我哋唔希望呢係行咗一個方向嘅時候呢，帶嚟其他嘅混亂嘅。
近日多名醫生涉嫌濫發免針紙被捕，又有持紅碼嘅人違規外出。李家超話會繼續留意情況，包括指定人士有冇按時檢測。假如出現較多違規情況，就難以喺防疫措施上作新考慮。NowTV 記者陳子晴報道。
已經停運嘅612人道支援基金，陳日君、吳靄儀、何韻詩等5個基金信託人同埋基金秘書，被控違反社團條例，冇為基金註冊、表證成立。郭婷晶報導。
5個基金信託人包括90歲嘅陳日君樞機、吳靄儀同何秀蘭，以及基金秘書施成威，去到西九龍裁判法院應訊。全部被告選擇唔作供，辯方亦都唔會傳召證人。控方傳召咗5個證人，包括國安處警長、稅務局商業登記處同埋警務處牌照課高級督察龔依林作供。辯方質疑並非所有聯繫都會向警方登記，舉例問一啲名人嘅治喪委員會係咪都有登記做社團？控方同主任裁判官嚴信儀打斷，話治喪委員會係咪違例唔係今次嘅審訊要處理，而一個組織係咪定義做社團係由法官去判斷，而唔係證人決定。嚴信儀聽取所有證人證供之後，裁定6個被告全部表證成立，同時針對治喪委員會嘅例子做補充。佢話任何家庭有人去世所組成嘅治喪委員會並唔係為咗一個宗旨，而係為咗辦一件事。佢唔認為為咗辦一件事而組成嘅團體需要登記，但係如果係一個宗族要集合宗親就需要登記。嚴信儀又認為社團條例嘅釋義相對扼要同埋簡單，因此可能有好多組織喺表面上都會符合呢個定義，但係好多組織喺條例下都可以豁免登記。又話今次案件有相當多證據喺眼前，只係雙方對呢一啲證據有唔同演繹。又話若果過去冇案例可循，就要用符合常識嘅方法去處理，因為社團條例可以影響整個社會。
案件暫定預留10月底同埋11月初一共4日，俾控辯雙方做結案陳詞。Now TV 記者郭婷晶報道。
Your Honor, I'm grateful to Your Honor for allowing me to make this statement about my background and the personal conviction I have held in what I did. I was called to the bar in 1988, but my early training was not in law. I had indulgent parents who allowed me to spend 10 years in the university in Hong Kong and then in Boston to study philosophy. There I learned about rigorous intellectual honesty in the pursuit of truth and alleviation of the suffering of mankind. It was a sharp change for me to switch to law in 1981 when I went to Cambridge to read for a law degree. Those were the crucial years of Sino-British negotiations over the future of Hong Kong. My generation were embroiled in finding a way to preserve Hong Kong's freedoms and original way of life after the change of sovereignty. That was so important to all of us that after I was called to the bar, I did not immediately start to practice, but took up an editorial post in the Ming Pao Daily News because I accepted that it was critical to Hong Kong's future to have a strong free press, and at that stage, I had some standing as a political commentator. I resumed my legal career in 1990, but in 1995, I was persuaded to stand for election in the legal functional constituency. Your Honor, the legal profession, steeped in a common law tradition of civil liberty, did not believe in unequal elections, but they considered that so long as there was such a seat, they would not allow anyone to compromise the rule of law in their name. So I was elected as their representative to hold that office in trust for the people of Hong Kong, to use it to uphold the system under which their rights and freedoms are protected by law. I was charged with a dual mission: to do my utmost to prevent legislation that would harm the rule of law, and to safeguard the institutions that underpin the rule of law. At the top of the list was judicial independence and the administration of justice. Those were the tasks which I had voluntarily pledged to carry out. It meant, first of all, working conscientiously in Legical's committees. I served in Legical for 18 years, including the year from July 1997 to August 1998, when I was without a seat. And for 17 of those years, I sat as chairman of the panel of Administration of Justice and Legal Services, which had its oversight of policies concerning the judiciary, judicial provisions and establishment, including the allocation of land and costs for court buildings, legal policies, legal aid, the organization of legal profession, legal services, and legal education. Numerous issues were brought up, discussed, and resolved. Some of the work required search for novel dispute resolution. At the height of the heated dispute within the profession over a higher right of audience for solicitors, I put the matter before the Chief Justice and respectfully asked him to intervene, so that the matter may be resolved and seen by all to be resolved on the public interest and not by unseemly turf fight. It was vital for the rule of law that the public continued to have confidence in the legal profession. The expansion of legal aid supplementary scheme, assistance for unrepresented litigants, more user-friendly and helpful free community legal advice were among other examples for which extra effort had to be made to find solutions. Often, there were setbacks. In 2002, when Audrey USC was also in Legical, we worked in partnership with NGOs on a proposal for a community legal services center to give people timely and useful legal advice. Although it was rejected by the government at the time, in due course, the idea bore fruit elsewhere. I had found that frequently, tact, diligence, and patience were what was needed. But at other times, when a fundamental value was violated, strong statements and response were required. In June 1999, In the wake of the Court of Final Appeal's landmark decision on the right of abode in Car Lane, the NPCSC issued its first interpretation of the Basic Law to overturn the court's decision.
日本の病産院で子供を産んだ時に看護師さんが日本で売り上げナンバーワンの
This showed the world's faith in the power of final adjudication of the court. In protest, on 30th June, I and over 600 members of the legal profession went on a silent march and stood in quiet respect and in solidarity in front of the CFA building, then on the Battery Path, to mark our unswifting support for the court in that critical hour, so that the community may not be demoralized. Your Honor, the task in the defense of the rule of law also meant commitment to the process of lawmaking. I devoted a great deal of my time to vetting bills. It is recorded that I had worked in 155 bills committees. It is vital to the rule of law that laws passed by the legislature are sound, rights-based, and measure up to the highest standards. For judges are bound to apply the law as it is, not as what they would wish it to be. Lawyers are in a better position than most to know how a piece of legislation would work or would not work when it comes to be tested in the courts. In this, I worked closely with the profession to whom I will always be grateful. We did our best to see to it that rights were not inadvertently or unnecessarily compromised. The law should give protection to rights, not take them away, especially in Hong Kong, where structural democracy is still absent. The people relied on the law to protect them, and the courts are the ultimate arbiter of the law. We are mindful that when the court applies a law which takes away fundamental rights, the confidence in the courts and judicial independence is shaken, even though the fault lies in the law, not with the judge who applies it, and that would strike at the foundation of our rule of law. Your Honor, the importance of that duty was driven home to me by the words of a distinguished judge, Associate Justice Anthony Kennedy of the United States Supreme Court, as he then was, when he came to Hong Kong at the invitation of the then Chief Justice Andrew Lee to give a speech to the judiciary and the legal profession on 8 February 1999. He was deeply moved by the challenges lying ahead of us and the important role of an independent judiciary. He submitted, "One requisite for judicial independence is that judges have the jurisdiction, the right, and the official capacity to decide all matters susceptible to judicial resolution that are necessary to ensure liberty and human freedom. If a judiciary does not have jurisdiction to this extent, then the members of the bar and the members of the larger society must continue to press to expand this jurisdiction. This is vital because if the bar and the society seem indifferent to a too narrow judicial charter, there is a risk that judiciary will in fact or perception aid and abet a larger scheme to deprive persons of their liberty." Those were strong words, Your Honor, but I recognize their authority, and I had ever taken them as marking the ultimate loyalty a barrister owns to judicial independence. Your Honor knows that there is no disrespect to say that the defense of judicial independence is not for the benefit of judges themselves, but so that they can be in a position fearlessly to uphold the rule of law. The defense of the rule of law is a two-way street. I believe that the representative of the legal profession in LegCo has a duty also to listen, to consult, and explain the law to the community, to alert people to their rights and obligations, to clarify what is obscure, to reduce bewilderment, to invite them to voice their concerns and point out errors, to address those concerns with sincerity and represent them forcefully to the government, and where their needs cannot be addressed through the law, to work with them towards other solutions. One of the ways for me to keep in touch with the public was by writing articles to the local press in plain language accessible to the general reader, for everyone ought to understand the law under which he lives. Throughout those years, and even up to now, I have never abandoned that exercise. Less frequently, I publish academic articles and contributions to academic forums, particularly on matters in need of law reform. Your Honor, working with the government in Legico had impressed upon me that the rule of law is not just about the law, but equally about governance. For laws are made for the peace, order and good governance of Hong Kong. Laws that protect rights tend to win the people's trust in their government, and trust facilitates good governance. So elected representatives have the duty to speak up to the government of the day, to advise and counsel, to admonish and to warn constantly. Do our laws take rights seriously? The law is not perfect, and lawyers know more than anyone else how imperfect law is. So why should people respect and obey the law? There are of course many answers, but the answer I give myself is this. We can ask people to obey the law if it is the best approximation to justice, which implies that we are duty-bound to listen to criticisms of the law and make sincere efforts to make the law better and correct mistakes as much as possible. Justice is the soul of the law, without which the rule of law descends to the level of rule by force, even if it is forced by majority. In the course of this trial, Your Honour's attention has been drawn to the debate on the Public Orders Ordinance in Legico on 21st December 2000. In that debate, I pointed out the defects existing in its provisions. They were defects in which had long troubled the legal profession. I warned the government that we must seriously consider reform if we were to avoid the law being disobeyed in desperation. Someone in a panel discussion had raised this issue of civil disobedience, and the Secretary for Security had called it a threat. But it need not be taken as a threat, but should act as warning or reminder. I urge the government not to shut out rational discussion for reform, because by its recalcitrance, the government was in danger of creating the very conditions which made civil disobedience inevitable and justifiable, something that which none of us wish to see. Those years in Legico had repercussions for me for life, because, Your Honour, defending the rule of law means we ourselves must take rights seriously, and this is a lifelong endeavour. There is no right so precious to the people of Hong Kong as the freedom of expression and the freedom of peaceful assembly. Not only is the freedom to speak truth the core of human dignity, it is also the last safety valve in a democratic society, as remarked by our illustrious judges repeatedly. Respecting those rights is also part and parcel of defending the rule of law. I had learned that the rule of law not only has to be defended in courts or in Legico, but also in the streets and in the community.
我們30週年立完祭，到時見。幫民陪伴香港30年，一直提供貼心貸款服務，齊齊分享喜悅啦！即刻打31991199啦！幫民 Promise 而製而還，新客戶搶現金高第1萬，加3000有到Star禮品卡。中谷借錢梗要還，咪俾錢中介。
Your Honour, I had spoken countless times in Legico, but I also realized that it is not good enough for me to make speeches in beautiful words and measured dignity in the precinct of the Legislative Council, shielded by the privilege of absolute freedom of speech and debate and immunity from legal action. When the people, in the last resort, had to give collective expression to their anguish and urged the government to respond, protected only by their expectation that the government will respect their rights, I must be prepared to stand with them, stand by them, and stand up for them. Otherwise, all my pledges and promises would be just empty words. Your Honour, the Hong Kong people is a peace-loving and well-disciplined people. Their resolute self-restraint, even in highly emotional situations, has been proved time and again. In the critical hours of the handover between 13th June and 1st July 1997, the great event passed without a hitch. In the march of 500,000 on 1st July 2003, not a single pane of glass was broken. Even in 2019, when over 1 million marched on 9th June and over 2 million marched on the 16th June, the peace and good order of the massive crowds astonished and won the admiration of the world. And in the incident of the present trial, this was demonstrated again. By the estimation of the organizers, over 1.7 million participated in the day's event. But whatever the exact figure, the huge and dense crowds in and around the venue, the resolute patience with which the crowds waited in the pouring rain, were captured in undisputed footage preserved for all posterity. The number and the perseverance spoke volumes for the intensity of the feelings in the community, and yet the self-restraint was for all to see. It is not disputed even by the prosecution that the event was entirely peaceful and orderly, without any untoward events. The crowd had kept faith with the organizers, who enjoined them to be peaceful, rational, and non-violent. At such times, we cannot be seen to abandon the people, but must stand side by side with them in the hope that peace may prevail. The positive effect of the peacefulness of the demonstration was acknowledged by the CE, Mrs. Carrie Lam, 2 days later, remarking that it would facilitate dialogue between government and the public. In the event, the dialogue on that occasion did not continue for long, but it was a step in the right direction. I believe we should nurture hope and continue, as Justice Kennedy urged upon the legal profession gathered together in that distinguished company. You must speak reason to your litigants. You must speak justice to society. You must speak truth to power. Your Honor, I came late to the law. I have grown old in the service of the rule of law. I understand Sir Thomas More is the patron saint of the legal profession. He was tried for treason because he would not bend the law to the king's will. His famous last words were well authenticated. I beg to slightly adapt and adopt them. I stand the law's good servant, but the people's first. For the law must serve the people, not the people the law. Your Honor, please permit me to thank my counsel. Their tireless dedication and excellence have made me proud to be a member of the bar. This is my statement. Thank you, Your Honor.
喺立法會入面端莊咁發表美麗動人嘅演講係唔夠㗎。當人民不得不以集體去表達佢哋嘅痛苦，並且要求政府回應，作為最後手段，我必須準備同佢哋喺埋一齊，支持佢哋，維護佢哋，否則我嘅承諾將只係空話。我係法律嘅僕人，但係我首先係人民嘅公僕，因為法律應該侍奉人民，而唔係人民臣服法律。
本人就唔做 lobbying 工作嘅，覺得呢啲係良心嘅問題。如果你需要我勸你點樣去聽你良心，即係你冇乜良心㗎啦。咁當你個行政機關係不守法嘅時候咧，你係冇嘢可以補救嘅。就算到最深尾，我哋都係一個人都死晒嘅，我哋都要打一場好好睇嘅戰。
硬頸唔妥協，做嘢認真，雄辯滔滔。仲有捍衛法治，呢啲形容詞總係出現喺佢身上。人稱 Margaret 嘅吳靄儀，70年代喺美國波士頓大學博士畢業，78年開始為英文報章撰寫時事專欄，80年代仲走到英國國會採訪香港前途談判問題，做過明報副總編，亦都攞到劍橋法律學位，有大律師資格。90年代以法律界身份走入議會。
法律界咧係一個好保守嘅行業嚟嘅，我哋唔中意係有好多大動作嘅，唔好講話而家去衝主席台啦，就算咧係離場抗議咧，我都唔敢離場抗議。你睇呢啲人離場抗議行出去都要對主席台鞠躬嘅，咁你可想而知。咁所以咧， 我哋真係習性難反，我哋唔係時時都贏，根本上我哋輸係多過贏嘅。喺立法會咧，係嗰啲工作咧係好乞人憎嘅，但係咧你係要做嘅。咁有陣時咧，你以為失敗嘅地方咧，但係只要你唔好放棄，你繼續喺度奮鬥嘅時候咧，呢個地方唔會沉得咁快。
佢喺大圍農村長大，得到中國大陸南下嘅知識分子攞住國學根底、民族大義嘅教育，再由鄉下妹去到聖保祿，受到西方文化嘅薰陶。貧窮唔等於冇知識，憑住個人勤力、天分，依然可以讀到最高。佢嘅經歷係嗰一代精英嘅寫照。
當年甚至開頭嘅特區政府，都遠遠唔似今日呢個特區政府咧，係咁完全係係嘛？我聽見有人話係咩話無恥，佢哋係冇界線嘅。咁即係你大家讀古書咧，就話君子有所為有所不為，呢啲係無所不為嘅人嚟嘅。
佢唔中意交際應酬，甚至唔中意用手機，但佢依然貼地。即使08年結束議會生涯之後，仍然不時就法治同政制議題發聲。
你啲律師話知你叻到幾犀利，話知你幾盡責，話知你幾瞓身去維護法治。你如果係冇呢個社會嘅公民社會咧，你連結唔到公民社會，你都係冇希望嘅。我係唔相信無力感嘅，我覺得呢啲係懶惰。
亦因為咁，佢喺2019年8月18日冒住雨攞住橫額走出嚟，同另外170萬人參與流水式集會。事後被裁定組織及參與未經批准集結罪名成立。
因為其實法治最重要嘅關鍵呢，唔係司法獨立，最重要嘅呢就係行政機關係主動守法，主動受到法律嘅約束。當你個行政機關係不守法嘅時候呢，你係冇嘢可以補救嘅。嗰陣時冇話法治已死嘅，事實上已經死咗，但係呢，我哋個都唔公佈呢啲死訊嘅，因為呢啲死訊呢。公佈嚟係冇用嘅，係咪？咁你係咪去就算數呢？我哋都要繼續去奮鬥㗎，係嘛？
今年73歲，大半生爭辯公安條例，鞭撻時弊，今日就被公安條例檢控入罪，判囚12個月，緩刑2年。佢喺被捕當日講過：
向來要維護法治都係一個好艱難嘅工程。當法治係好危急嘅時候，你要 walk out 啊，因為你要 stand and fight 啊，係咪？呢個呢，就係我哋法律界人士最重要嘅精神。嗰個情勢越係惡劣，我哋就越係要堅決咁為我哋嘅當事人辯護，為香港人爭取自由。我哋係唔可以放棄嘅。
繼續新聞時間啦！日本為遇襲身亡嘅前首相安倍晉三舉行國葬，大約有4300人出席致哀。
日本首相岸田文雄讚揚安倍致力為日本以至世界嘅和平貢獻。林宗義報道。
安倍嘅骨灰由遺孀安倍昭惠帶到武道館，自衛隊鳴炮19響致敬。骨灰之後轉交俾治喪委員長兼日本首相岸田文雄，再由自衛隊供奉喺祭壇。安倍嘅遺照係上咗藍絲帶，代表佢畢生致力營救被北韓綁架嘅日本人。安倍嘅信念係要成為一位永遠戰鬥嘅政治家。儀式開始嘅時候奏出日本國歌。全場默哀1分鐘。大會播放咗一條長約8分鐘講述安倍生平嘅片段。岸田文雄致悼詞時憶述，大約30年前同安倍喺眾議院選舉中首次當選， 又讚揚佢一直努力研究安全保障、外交、經濟等政策。
Abe Shinzo was the one who worked harder than anyone else in the world to build and maintain peace within Japan, the region, and across the globe, and to maintain and promote an international order that values freedom, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law.
包括參眾兩院議長、最高法院院長、日本前首相菅義偉等逐一上台致追悼辭。日皇德仁夫婦同上皇明仁夫婦派遣使者，同有7名皇族成員到祭壇獻花。日本國內外共有約4300人，包括美國副總統賀錦麗、澳洲總理阿爾巴尼斯、印度總理莫迪等到嚟向安倍致哀。全國政協副主席萬鋼代表中國政府出席。會場附近嘅九段坂公園約有1萬名民眾輪候咗超過3個鐘頭，先至能夠向日本任期最長嘅首相獻花。今次係日本戰後第2次為前首相舉行國葬，估計超過16億日元嘅開支，全數由日本政府承擔，引起不滿。安倍又被指同具爭議嘅統一教有聯繫，生前又未經公投修憲，就借重新詮釋憲法第9條，解凍日本嘅集體自衛權。安倍今年7月喺內輪助選期間遇到槍擊死亡，終年67歲。Now TV 記者林宗儀報導。
正喺亞洲訪問嘅美國副總統賀錦麗將會喺星期4到訪南北韓非軍事區。南韓總理韓德珠同美國副總統賀錦麗喺東京出席日本前首相安倍晉三嘅國葬前會晤。韓德珠證實賀錦麗會喺星期4到訪兩韓邊境嘅非軍事區。韓德珠形容賀錦麗到訪喺美國對朝鮮半島安全和平嘅承諾而言極具象徵意義。賀錦麗會係拜登政府第一位最高層官員到訪非軍事區，到時賀錦麗會同美軍人員會面，同聽取行動簡報。美國官員話，訪問強調喺面對北韓嘅威脅時，美方承諾同南韓企喺同一陣線。
美國海岸防衛隊話，中俄7艘海軍軍艦組成嘅聯合水面作戰編隊日前駛入美國專屬經濟區，有美國傳媒話屬於中俄海軍聯合巡邏嘅一部分。何以玲報導。
美國海岸防衛隊話，美國一艘巡邏艦上個星期一喺阿拉斯加州對開嘅白令海峽例行巡邏期間，發現包括中國055型導彈驅逐艦南昌艦在內嘅3艘解放軍軍艦，同埋4艘俄羅斯軍艦組成嘅聯合水面作戰編隊喺美國嘅專屬經濟區入面航行。美軍隨即出動 C-130運輸機為巡邏艦提供空中支援，又話會持續監察中俄軍艦嘅活動，確保區域內美軍艦艇嘅安全同埋商業航行自由。美國軍方報章星條旗報認為呢一次發現嘅7艘中俄軍艦係俄羅斯國防部月中公佈展開中俄海軍聯合巡邏嘅一部分。美國海岸防衛隊第17區指揮官摩爾話，雖然中俄編隊嘅運作符合國際法同埋規範，但係美方會緊隨監視，以確保美國喺阿拉斯加水域一帶嘅利益唔會受到干擾。中共中央政治局委員、中央外事辦公室主任楊潔篪上個禮拜同俄羅斯聯邦安全會議秘書帕特魯舍夫會面嘅時候，亦都同意加強兩國喺聯合軍演同埋巡邏等國防上面嘅合作。Now TV 記者何以玲報導。
連接俄羅斯同德國嘅天然氣輸送管道北溪1號出現洩漏。瑞典海事管理局話，偵測到北溪1號海底管道入面位於瑞典專屬經濟區同丹麥專屬經濟區嘅部分各有一處原因不明嘅洩漏，當局要求船隻遠離有關海域。而喺北溪1號附近冇啟用嘅北溪2號管道前一日都有洩漏，丹麥政府要求船隻唔好駛近洩漏處5海里嘅範圍內。克里姆林宮話事件令人關注，又話唔能夠排除管道遭到人為破壞，需要盡快調查原因。 歐洲以往每年經北溪1號由俄羅斯輸入大約550億立方米嘅天然氣，但係俄烏開戰之後，俄羅斯以渦輪機損壞等嘅理由，逐步削減供應量，去到上個月更加完全停止輸氣。睇埋天氣，預測大致多雲，有一兩陣驟雨。聽日短暫時間有陽光，氣温介乎27至31度，吹和緩至清勁東風。初時離岸吹強風。展望隨後幾日，短暫時間有陽光，亦都有幾陣驟雨。而家嘅氣温係29度，相對濕度75%。睇埋嚟緊9日嘅天氣預報。
仲在生嘅話，我都會信佢。
中唔中意份禮物啊？
嗰個人而家喺邊啊？佢同你一齊。
你同我唔之前係咪另外有啲交易啊？
你放過我啦！點解阿 Sir 你係都要咬住宋耀威唔放呢？係咪因為你太太嘅事啊？想做正義嘅審判者啊？
你根本乜都唔知，我好似唔小心殺咗人。
黃立雲發生意外，係咪你做㗎
？High Class 結局篇，今晚9點半，表 TV。
喉嚨痛唔舒服，含金量
到期去到星期一結束。
英國皇室公布代表查理斯3世嘅標誌。
一齊睇下英國廣播公司嘅報導，新嘅皇室標誌由星期2起喺政府嘅建築物、文件同埋郵筒等嘅設施嚟開始使用。英倫銀行亦都宣布會喺年底公布印有查理斯3世頭像嘅新英鎊鈔票設計，並且喺2024年年中發行。
新嘅英國皇室標誌由查理斯名字嘅簡稱 C、國王嘅拉丁語簡寫 R， 以及係代表3世嘅羅馬數字3組成，上面有皇冠圖案。
嗱，呢個標誌係查理斯3世由文章院提供嘅一系列設計入面挑選，將會喺星期2率先喺皇室寄出嘅郵件入面使用。
英倫銀行同時宣布會喺2024年年中發行印有查理斯3世頭像嘅鈔票，而現時流通印有伊麗莎白2世頭像嘅鈔票將可以繼續使用，只會喺鈔票損壞嘅時候回收。
英國皇家鑄幣局話會配合需求推出新嘅硬幣，但係話由於而家流通硬幣數目係多達270億枚，更換過程咧將會需要一段時間。
至於印有英女王頭像嘅郵票，皇家郵政話會喺現有嘅庫存用完之後，推出印有查理斯3世頭像嘅新郵票。